Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Courtside with Christy and Gabe right here on the Her Hoop Stats Podcast Network. I am Christy Winters-Scott, joined as always by my guy, Gabe Ibrahim. And Gabe, the WNBA playoffs are in full swing. Postseason awards are beginning to be announced, and it's just an exciting time.
It's very exciting, and I'm going to let you guys know right now, this may be a long show. This just may be a long show. So subscribe now, hit the like button now, drop your comments. We can see them. We'll be discussing them. So if you want to say anything, come hang out. But yeah, so just know this is going to be a long podcast. We got a lot to talk about. We may have some breaking news at some point with the Coach of the Year award being announced later today. We think it'll be during this podcast. So
it will be. So you have to do that.
Oh, it will be.
It will be. I think I've heard noon is the announcement from the NBA. So shout out Ron Howard for giving me the heads up on that in the league offices. So so that'll be exciting. So so much going on, Gabe. You know, I had a chance to be out in Vegas, and that was so much fun. And guess what? There's a little Paris. There's a Paris Las Vegas.
Yes,
and they actually had the Eiffel Tower and everything.
I
have to share photos with you because.
Wait, had you never been to Vegas before?
No, there's a story. Listen, I was pregnant with our first child. I was supposed to go out there for a recruiting situation when I was coaching at Maryland. And I was early, like 4 or 5 months pregnant, but I was like, ooh, first child. I was like, ooh, I don't want to do too much. I don't want to be on the plane. I want to swell up and everything, my feet and ankles. So I didn't do it, but I did go to Orlando that summer instead. But I was scheduled to go to Vegas, so I've always wanted to go back. So yay for me! I'm crossing things off the list.
You got to do the playoff. You got to watch some playoff basketball and go to Vegas for the first time. So what? So you went to that's Paris. What was it called?
The Paris Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Like I went on the tour and everything, and I was like, why am I up this high? Like it looks cute. Like, oh yeah, I'll take the tour, go on the little elevator and everything. And I got like halfway up. I was like, wait, this is too high. My nerves started like tightening up. It was fun.
Well, it's good practice for when we go do Courtside at the 2024 Olympics in Paris.
We're manifesting it. And that's why I went there, because I was like, this is one step closer. Wait till I tell Gabe on the next show. We're one step closer to Paris. Oui. Let's do it. We're out.
Let's do it. No, I think we could do that. Where else did you go? Like a buffet? Did you go like where'd you stay? I'm interested.
Mandalay Bay.
Oh, all right. That makes sense.
Outstanding. So shout out Mandalay Bay. But the games were there was a gap in between, right? So the games were Wednesday and Saturday. So Thursday I just did completely off. Like, okay. I mean, I was studying and everything, but I'm like, I'm gonna go and sit in the sun, right? For a couple hours or something like that. I came inside, I was like, who is that? I got burnt up. I was like sunburned, my lips and everything. I was like, oh no, anyway. So, but it was beautiful, but,
hot.
The sun was a little more vibrant than I thought.
All right.
And then Friday I went to practices and everything like that. And then of course, Saturday, the game, but it was really a beautiful setup. The arena's right inside of Mandalay Bay, obviously. And so you just get off the elevator, walk right to the arena through the casino, which Tiffany Green and I, had fun. She taught me how to do the computerized roulette wheel or something.
Oh yeah.
I only lost $5. I put 20, and I came back home with 15.
There it is.
So
already up. And then the Vegas put it away. So that was pretty easy. You didn't get to go to Phoenix, but alas.
Ah, darn it. Yeah.
Alas. I actually went to New York. I went to New York for because I was like, I need to see playoff basketball.
Yeah.
And no offense to the great state of Connecticut, I'm not going to Connecticut. It's very hard to get to from DC.
Yeah.
So I took the train up to New York, watched Game 3 of Chicago, New York, came away with some impressions that I want to talk about we get to our preview for the semifinals, because it was impressive watching that Chicago Sky team.
Man.
And I obviously had to do that because the Mystics got swept.
I know. It was that game one. The game one. And I've said, we said they're very similar teams, Seattle and Washington. We said Spider-Man meme and everything like that. But guess what? There was such a small level of error that either team, right? Either team. But I think Natasha Cloud said it best. It's like, hey, they play really well at home, right?
Yep.
And for the Mystics not to have that home court advantage, I think it was really tough, to at least split obviously out there and bring it back home to DC. And so that first game, I was like, oof, the turnovers, the margin of error in that situation, the missed rebounds down the stretch, like you just have to do that against a team like Seattle. You just have to do it. And, it was frustrating because even after game 2, the Mystics were saying, we have a lot left. We had a lot left. And that's what's so frustrating. It's like,
do we want to do the Mystics now, or do we want to do All Rookie now?
Oh,
I feel like the Mystics is going to go on for a while.
I know. That's why I was like, we should do the playoff stuff towards the end, honey, because we started talking. But no, let's go rookie, because
rookie of the year.
It's kind of in the same lines because Shakira Austin was up for rookie
involved.
of the year.
Yeah, no, Shakira also was involved, so I'm down to talk about it as we talk about the Mystics. But so, all right, Ryan Howard wins Rookie of the Year. Yeah. Shakira Austin gets second place.
Yeah.
You are an official voter for this award, right?
Yes.
Who'd you vote for?
Shakira Austin.
And why?
Because number one, Mike Tebow said so. But he's seen them. And the thing about that, I'm not saying it's because Mike Tebow, but I'm saying, he is a savant when it comes to selections and all of these things. He sees these players years prior to them coming through their draft class, and he made the switch right for the picks at the draft this year. Got Shakira Austin because that's what the team needed. But wow, I think even Mike Tebow said, we thought she'd be a 10-minute player for us, to come in and start over 30 games and to average 8 and almost 7 boards a game. Like, I just think that his ability to put her in the right place with his team and the way that she was able to utilize that opportunity, I thought that was major. Ryan Howard, no shade to her, an amazing player. But every time that Atlanta played Washington, I think she was 0 for 12 in one of the games. Like they put some defense on her and shut her down. So
in fairness, it's really good defense.
It is very good defense. Number 1 in the league in defensive rating. So I get it. But even with that being said, right, she was able in the 3 or 4 games, or I think it was only 3 games, in the 3 games that, Ryan Howard was matched up against the Mystics. And not that they were head to head. It wasn't Shakira against Ryan. Okay, to be clear. But every time they played Washington, she was shut down to a low number and efficiency. I think it was like 25% shooting from the floor. And that one game she got shut out, didn't score at all. So, there were those situations. But I also think that, Shakira Austin, without her presence on the floor, I just think that her value on the court for the Mystics to get to the playoffs this year after missing last year's playoffs, I think without her, I don't know if they do that. So I'm placing that energy with what she was able to accomplish for the team.
I agree.
And the team was better, right? In terms of rankings and all. So I don't know. And Mike Tebow's comments aside, even though that does weigh heavy on me because he studies these players. But my own opinion is like, okay, when you're looking at the rookies, best rookie on the best team. That's cute. So.
Okay. I mean, I think of this award a little differently, I think. And I would have voted for Ryan Howard. I think it is extremely close though. Like I was being a little bit more convinced every time you were saying something. And it is a great plan. She was so efficient for this team. And I agree with you. I don't think they get back to this spot where they were. Obviously they make the playoffs to get swept. It doesn't look as good now, but they look like a title contender this year, and I think that's a really big deal for this franchise.
Right.
But I think the thing about this award to me is that there is a future aspect, right?
Okay.
Because to me, the Rookie of the Year has to be someone who I think is going to be the best rookie in a certain way for me. So like,
okay, come on.
I think it's a player who's like showed that they can be the best player on a good team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think for now, because of the production level of Ryan Howard, it outstrips the efficiency numbers for Shakira Austin. Because there's no doubt that Shakira was way more efficient this year. You look at, PR, you look at points per play, points per shooting attempt, her field goal percentage. Ryan Howard's field goal percentage was not particularly good this year. I just think that she showed that she could be the best player on a good team. And we haven't seen that necessarily yet from Shakira. I think Shakira has definitely shown she can be the second best player on a really good team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think she can be that second best piece. We just haven't seen her being put in that role yet. And I think the role kind of matters for this award. So that's why I disagree. But I think it's really a razor's edge between these two, which makes that trade all the more interesting from earlier this year.
That's what I'm saying. And you said it right there. I mean, you said the role, right? Yeah. So I think if you're really measuring, who to put where on the rookie list or the all rookie player of the year and everything, I think you have to look at Shakira's role with Washington. Mm-hmm. And what I like to do, I like to remove her, right? Let's remove Shakira off the list. How about this? How about if we flip them? How about if Shakira was in Atlanta and Ryan was here in DC? Talk to me, right? So then now my answer is more even ironed out, right? And it's not, it was fit, it was role, and it was efficiency. So those three things, it got checked off for me for Shakira in that way. And, Washington did the switch. Mike did the switch in the draft because he knew what his team needed eventually. And it happened faster than he thought, but it happened. And the Mystics were better for it. And the Mystics, got to the playoffs. The Mystics won some close games because of her contributions. And whether that's being a rim protector or being able to score the ball, it's not coming through her, but she's getting to the O boards. She's getting put back. She's getting to the free throw line, and she wants to get better at the free throw line. And that's what I love about her is that, she's not satisfied.
Yeah.
And I think that's why she got into that starting lineup. She earned that. She fought for that, and she made herself invaluable in terms of a rotational piece turning into a starter.
No, and I don't disagree. I think to show what she showed may be actually more important toward the future title race than maybe what Ryan Howard showed, at least for the next few years.
Okay.
But I think in the future, as we have some commenters saying, like, Ryan just was at the top of that scouting report. She was the leader on that team, and she showed flashes. Like, there was times where we were looking at her and we're like, wow, she's really one of the best players. She can hit that level of top players, right? She was on lists with only Hall of Famers due to her scoring and her production. And I totally agree though that Shakira can get there, and she might in a post Elena Delle Donne world, which is hopefully very, very far in the future.
Way down
the line. She can be that player. Right. I could see that. But for now, I did have to go for Ryan Howard just because of those flashes of, wow, this player can really take you from A to B to a championship in the way that Shakira might. And I think she could, and she worked really hard this year. And I just don't want to get like too worked up because I'm like, this is so narrow. The margin here is so narrow between these two players.
I'm getting worked up because it's about consistency, Gabe. Come on, Gabe. Now, and I hear you. And I mean, we were entitled to our own opinions, but it's consistency for me. And those lulls were more often than not for Ryan. And I love Ryan. No, I had Ryan, like in college, I had Ryan on all my lists. I love her. But for Washington, I just think you take Shakira out of that lineup, man. That's not the same squad without Shakira on the floor.
I don't disagree that is not the same squad without Shakira. But I also think Atlanta is very much not the same squad without Ryan Howard on the court. And the whole if thing, like, oh, if they switch places, what would happen? I don't know. We're entering like if my aunt had wheels, she'd be a bicycle territory, which is one of my favorite sayings. So I don't know. Anything could happen. Yeah. But I think it just becomes so close that I agree that everyone can parse it the way they can. I just am more on the on the fence. And I think just like the fact that Ryan was able to actually lead the team in scoring and production, it kind of broke the tie for me. Do you want to talk about all rookie though? I wasn't too shocked. I mean, this was probably my 5: Howard, Austin, Smith, Egbo, Gardner.
Right.
I think I may have been arguing at some point for Veronica Burton over Egbo just because they made the playoffs and Indiana didn't win that much. But I think Nalissa Smith definitely should be on there. Rebecca Gardner.
That's a great story.
A rookie?
What a
story. She's not.
She's 32, but it's her she's technically a rookie.
She don't play like no rookie I've ever seen.
No, I mean, but still, I mean, it's all. I guess it is what it is. I guess but I love her, and I love again a player that if you take off of the Chicago Sky team, are they the same squad without her?
No,
no, and so you have to give credit where credit is due, and when you have the opportunity to get yourself into the league, I mean, I think you just have to do that and not just do that, but be great in your role for that team. I mean, can you imagine not being in the league for all these years and then, come on to Chicago. And then, let's get you in a big role with this team because you are so lanky on the perimeter. You can get to the rim. I mean, she is so smooth with her game and her decisiveness in her skill set. I mean, she's incredibly impressive in a lot of different ways, but the resilience, to have that as a goal for all these years and then boom, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and here's your chance. And she wants to get into broadcasting too. So it's like, this is a chance for her to get here in the States, to do her thing. And she's done it.
She has a lot of basketball left though. I just want to point that out. She has been like making big plays in the playoffs like it's nothing. And it's not even a thing because she's not a rookie. That's a myth. But it's like of all of the players on this all rookie team, she is by far making the biggest impact in the playoffs, and that's there's an obvious reason for that because she's an actual veteran in terms of real basketball, right? Okay. So I think she's just made such a huge impact. And Shakira Austin, we saw her, she played great throughout the regular season, and then in the playoffs she kind of did get targeted by Seattle a little bit. We can talk about that later. Yeah. But that doesn't go into rookie of the year, just to be clear.
Right.
It can't.
Right. It's before.
It's before. But Austin, I mean, like you look at all the rookies, and Burton had her moments against Connecticut, but you look at all of the rookies and none of them can do what Rebecca Gardner can do. I thought she was incredible this year. Now, Nalissa Smith and Queen Egbo. I mean, Queen Egbo surprised me this year. She played some really great basketball.
Agreed.
And Nalissa Smith did not surprise me by playing really great basketball at times, but she, obviously is I think she has the future that we think she's going to have. Are you a little surprised that Indiana gets 2 players on this list? I mean, I know they played like almost exclusively rookies, but
yeah, I mean, when you have 5 rookies on a roster, and I know that they ended up last in the league and everything, and just had a really tough way parting ways with Marianne Stanley midway through, and there's Coach Knox taking over. There were a lot of adjustments that team had to make on the fly. Also, learning the league as rookies. So I think when you look at it that way, outside of what their record was, I think you're looking at the invaluable experience that they all gained because they had to play a lot of minutes. Mm-hmm. They had to play a ton of minutes. And I think you're right. Queen Egbo to me really stood out. I mean, we knew what we were getting with Nalissa Smith. So it's like, I'm not like surprised by anything that she does. And Queen Egbo, I think she just made this huge jump this season in terms of expectations that were, I don't know, kind of prognosticated for her as a rookie this season. And we knew that Indiana was going to be young. And I thought they would get 6 wins before the All-Star break.
They didn't get 6 wins at all.
I know, but they had 5 before the All-Star break. So,
Christy, that's an ultimate bad beat. It really is though. Like we should talk about this on Spread the Floor. Christy bet that they were going to win. She didn't bet.
I didn't bet any money, so that was only.
She didn't bet anything. because she didn't bet anything. Only I bet something, just for the record. But she bet they were going to win 6 games before the All-Star break. They had 5 wins with like 7 games left before the All-Star break, and then they haven't won for the rest of the season.
Yeah, but had they won 6 before the All-Star break, you would have been down at Berry Farms here in D.C. with the 3-point shooting contest that we had on schedule. I was ready to film it and everything. I was going to be sitting right there, Berry Farms. Y'all Google it if you don't know, if you're not from here. So it would have been really fun.
It would have been really fun, although Christy didn't put anything up on her end of the wager.
I didn't.
That's what you get when you're the Hall of Famer. When you're the Hall of Famer, she can push around the little guys, the production assistants. All right. Anything else on all rookies?
Okay. Oh, let's see. No, I mean, I think, we said about Howard and Austin, and Gardner, I just love her, and for her to get picked up after being seen playing in France, I just think that's just a great story, right?
It is a great story,
for the playoffs, and that's a story that if you don't know, should be told as the playoffs unfold if you don't know about it already.
Well, speaking of Rebecca Gardner's story, James Wade, Executive of the Year, in part for bringing over Rebecca Gardner. Yeah. He had a great offseason. Obviously, he brought in Emma Miesemann. He kept the team together when there was talks of it not being together in the offseason, if you recall. Yeah. He is the first Black recipient of this award since the WNBA started giving it out in 2017. And I think it is pretty easy. I thought it was a pretty easy award to give out. I was like, it's James Wade because of everything I just mentioned. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was amazing. I mean, I just spoke about James Wade. He lives in France. So
yes, that's how I knew.
He had his eyes on Rebecca Gardner and said, hey, you know what? This is great, right? This is a player who I think can help us. Had his eyes on her, reeled her in, got Emma Miesemann, and, what a great piece she's been for them. I mean, just a bona fide scorer, but her passing ability this season with Chicago has really been top shelf. So I just think that it's warranted. James Wade is a winner. Coming off of a championship season, you don't want to rock the boat too much. You don't want to add too much. You don't want to lose anything either. So I think he did a really good job of kind of sitting right in the middle, adding what he needed to what he already had. And, winning a championship, you don't want to change too much. I mean, they won it as a 6 seed last year, and now they're in, the top 2 spots. So, the pressure is there to repeat. Yeah. But now you have a couple of new faces that can help you do that. And I think he did a fantastic job of corralling a couple of really key pieces for that push for their championship repeat this year.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing to bring these people together. It's another thing to keep them together, right? This team has played really together this year. And not that, Emma Miesemann is like one of the nicest people in this league, right? It's the universal opinion. Yeah. So it's pretty easy to keep her in the locker room, but he put her in the right place, and he's put her in the right spots, and this team has put each other in the right spots. And I think that's why this is like putting the team together and getting a lot of talent is great. Making sure the talent all fits together and understands their role. Right. That's part coaching, but I think the executive plays a big part in that. And I think he deserves credit for that. We'll see if he also gets the credit for Coach of the Year, which should be coming up. But I think Executive of the Year was pretty easy. Do you want to talk? Actually, you know what? We have 6 minutes here before we hear about Coach of the Year.
Okay. And it's going to hit right at noon, Hank. So
it's going to hit right at noon, according to Christy Winters-Scott, who has all of the inside analysis. But who'd you vote for?
Oh, boy. Do I have to say? Because then when it comes out, I'll be like, no. Yes. I had Becky Hammon. Becky Hammon. I mean, come on, man. I mean, she totally flipped the philosophy of the Aces team in terms of just having more freedom and more space and pace, and they've just been fantastic in that. I mean, she met with A'ja Wilson in San Antonio before she left with the Spurs under Greg Popovich as an assistant for years, but met with A'ja and said, hey, let's get in the gym, get some shots or whatever. And she was knocking down shots. She was like, man, you could shoot the leather off this ball. Like, we need to get you shooting the ball. So in 3 seasons prior to this one, Gabe, she had only taken, I believe, 2 threes
Yeah.
Or no, she had taken 3 threes and was like 1 for 3 or something like that. And then this year she's shooting 37% from 3.
It's quite the transformation.
I mean, come on. Like, and what is that? I mean, that's confidence. Okay. That's not necessarily like, oh, okay, I'm going to come in and change everything. No, she has fit the philosophy of the team to the personnel. And that's so hard to do sometimes. Sometimes you come in like, I'm a coach. We're going to run this, that, and the other thing. I don't care who the players are. We're going to make it work. And sometimes you can run similar things, but sometimes you have to make changes. And this is a team who, was paint dominant for years, obviously with Kim Beige there.
Shouts to Bill.
Yeah. And nothing wrong with that. As a post player, I love to get, put the ball in there. I love it. But the fact that she's been able to balance this offense, to the point where Kelsey Plum is playing 10 more minutes a game. Mm-hmm. She's always been a dog. Let's not forget, like, that's Plum dog at Washington. That's been Plum dog, in the league. Let's give her credit as well. But I think what Becky Hammon has been able to do with this team is give them confidence to play freely, to be creative on the fly, to initiate offense, to make great reads. I mean, Kelsey Plum's passing ability this season has been through the roof, right? I mean, we knew she could score, but this year, I think, her playmaking ability has been insane. And while we're at it, Chelsea Gray, I mean, I almost fell out of my chair a couple of times. The passes she was making, I mean, face to face, in person. I mean, you see it on TV and it's like, oh, snap, that was nice. But in person, in the roar of 10,000 fans in Las Vegas, who's doing it right, by the way. I mean, shout out to the player-led organization there. I mean, insane. I saw Jennifer Azzi out there playing a U-Bowl against her. I mean, it's just all these things coming full circle, but they know. Natalie Williams, shout out to her. Had great conversations with her out there. They know what it takes. They know what it should be. And I kept telling them that every time I saw them. I was like, this is what it should be. This is how it should be, right? For those of us who love this game, regardless of gender, but especially for women's basketball, to see what they've been able to do there, Gabe, has been insane. And I think with Becky Hammon as the head coach, that's just multiplied it.
Well, I think everything you just said is about buy-in and getting buy-in and putting players in positions that make them happy, right? I think she unleashed every single player on this team to be who they want to be on the court. Plum is able to just get downhill, do her little skips, read the floor, and do her own thing, right? But she also has unlocked Chelsea Gray on the other side, and they have the chemistry to understand when one's going on and when the other one has a mismatch, and they really seem to communicate well in that space. I think you look at Dearica Hamby, the season she had before she got injured was unreal. You look at Jackie Young too, who should be most improved. Not that we can talk about that probably next week when it comes out, but she's going to be the most improved player of the year, in my opinion, because of what Becky Hammon has been able to do for her. And I think it's that sort of connection with the players has been really, really impressive to see, because she talked, what must have happened, right, is she talked to Jackie. She talked to, like the same thing you're saying with Asia's threes. I'm sure that happened with every single player on the court. And then she understood where they were all coming from and trying to put them in the right positions. And I think she did a great job with that. I think that is the central job of the head coach, is to put people in positions they're comfortable in and get them enough touches to make sure it all gets there. To your point about Asia Wilson. So her career shooting percentage actually went down this year because she had taken 2 threes before this season. And made one of them. So her 3-point percentage was 50%. This year, she is 31 of 83, 37.3%.
That's what I said, 37%.
And that's what I think. That's the that's why I agree that Becky Hammon should be there. I think James Wade did a great job.
He did.
I think Mike Tebow did a great job. I thought there was a lot of great coaching jobs this year.
Absolutely.
But Tanisha Wright did a great job. She won AP Coach of the Year.
She did.
But at the end of the day, I do think Becky did the most to unlock her team and put them in the right positions and do what a coach should do. And they seem to have fun doing it, which is another great thing.
Which is why I loved it too. I mean, it's so funny. They had a practice player in their practice one of the days, and Chelsea threw this really great dime to him, right? And he missed the layup. And then she yelled out, Smokey Robinson. And I was like crying because I never heard that. But it was just so fun just to be around them. So much fun just to see the joy that they had in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, a little roasting on the side is never bad. But it was hilarious. But I just think that's the freedom. Like, you don't want to be in the gym if it's, you have to be someone other than your true self. And I think everyone presented their true selves in practices and in games. And the fans just gravitate towards that as well. It was an amazing environment.
No, I thought, and that I think goes to the coaching and to the ownership, and all these things are like the exec award, coach award. Those are really organizational things. And I think every award to some extent goes to an organization. Everyone gets their hands on it, but
right.
This one certainly does. And guess what? God, I almost ruined it. Guess what, Christy? We have the coach of the year, and it is Becky Hammon.
Try to tell y'all.
Becky Hammon wins the award.
I'm not alone in it then.
No.
Shout out to Becky Hammon. That's my girl now, by the way. Like, she really understands the game. And I'm not talking tactically, but I'm talking about the mental game that you have to be able to compete at a high level. And like you said, the buy-in for the players, I mean, that's just respect, right?
Yeah.
And Chelsea Gray said, last year I came in to Vegas and I had to learn an entirely new system, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, well, yeah, you had to do that again this year. And what has that been like? And she said it's been amazing because Becky Hammon allows for her to see what she sees and allows her to stay, innate with her decisions. And, I think when you're a point guard, which I have never been, or point guard, which she is, when you have that confidence that is, open up to you from mm-hmm. your coach just to be who you are and to trust that. I mean, Becky Hammon joked and said, hey, Chelsea Gray, I'm her assistant coach. Like, she'll make play calls, but obviously she's the overseer. She's the, the final word on things. But the fact that she has that ability to let her go, like, if you see it, go ahead and make that play. I'm not going to pull you back and say, run a play. When you see a play to be made, make the play. And it turns out that's been a great combination and formula for the Aces.
It's empowerment. The word we talk about a lot. She empowers her players, and that's amazing. Like a lot of the women on that shirt you're wearing, Christy.
Oh, you know what? I wore this shirt. Shout out to Raina at Iowa, who has made these shirts. But I wore this shirt. I was going to save it for the end, but I'm going to say it now. Charlene Curtis passed away. And that's why I wanted to do it at the end, because hopefully I don't get cut up. But too late. Anyway, she was an amazing ambassador for women's basketball. So, all these women on my shirt, like, obviously have impacted the game in so many ways. And, Vivian Stringer being the first, but she's right along there and she should have her name on here too. So I'm going to try to see if Raina can get that put on. But, an amazing mentor for me at Wake Forest, recruited me out of high school, right? Was in my house for a home visit. So just a lovely woman, just a heart and soul for the game. Played at Radford. She was their first 1,000 point scorer there. And they didn't even have scholarships then. So she's playing for the love and joy of the game. And then in turn handed the baton over to so many great women who played for her. Alicia Mosley, one of my girls that coached with her at Georgetown. Then of course, LaChina Robinson played for her as well. And, I've reached out to her and it's really hard, to lose someone like that, who was a gem for the game and will continue with the tentacles that she has stretched across many teams, many players and people like me. Just sad, but that's why I wore that today.
Well,
to shout her out and to give her some love today and her family and friends and everyone who knew her. So
thank you for sharing that. And I think it's a very touching tribute to wear that shirt. And obviously our thoughts and prayers are with Coach Curtis's family. Obviously we also stand on the shoulders of everything she built. And I think as we're talking about the coach of the year,
it's
a good reminder of how important coaches can be.
absolutely.
And just like you were and are for many kids around this area.
It's a lot. It's not, she always said, it's not who you coach, it's why you coach, and or where you coach. It's, it's why you coach. And I think she paid it forward as the overseer of officials for years. And she would text me sometimes, or I would text her on some rule things, and she was always there as a great listening ear, and I said, like a mentor to me in a lot of ways. So just always a beautiful smile, a beautiful countenance, and always a fierce love of the game, of life. So,
well, again, just all our thoughts and prayers to Coach Curtis's family and everyone in our community that's feeling the loss. Do we want to go back to the playoffs?
Yeah, we have to. We have to. And,
keep going.
we got to do it, because I'm going to tell you what, the rest of these playoffs, I mean, we already saw some really great first round games, right? For Chicago to be stretched to 3 games and have to go to the game you went to in New York. I mean, we could start there. Like, were you surprised? Were you surprised that game 1 went to the way of New York?
Yeah. I mean, what it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Yeah. I've never seen this. I wrote a whole article on this on my Ball in Order newsletter. I've never seen what happened in that game, where an insane pass, was so incredible, so beautiful, so wonderful that the team had no choice but to win the game in which the pass was thrown. They went on a 13-0 run after that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I've never, ever seen that.
Right.
Amazing fight from New York in that first game. And, Banaj Eleni, incredible in every single second she was playing.
Absolutely.
Oh God, she was so awesome.
Yeah.
In New York, I think they were going up against a much better team, but they acquitted themselves nicely. And then to see Chicago really put their foot down in game 2 was impressive. Then go on the road in New York, and that place was rocking.
I saw.
That stadium was rocking. It was crazy. It was super fun, really great environment.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just cruised along for a while. Chicago did, and it seemed like they were going to put New York away. Right. Then New York came storming back, and then Chicago put their foot on the gas pedal, and it was over before you knew it. And I think that just showed why they're the champs.
Right.
And they just knew exactly where to go, what to do, who to attack, how to attack it, move the ball, manipulate the floor. With all the players on their team that can do that, they were able to execute perfectly. And I think it's a scary sign for whoever's in front of them in the playoffs.
No doubt. But shout out to Sandy Brondello, first year in New York, obviously many years in Phoenix, championships under her belt. But when you have that core of young players, I mean, she really had to fight to get, and not in a negative way. I mean, that's hard, right? To come in, new coach, a bunch of new players, young players, and to just get them to be in the playoffs. And then not only that, but to win that game 1 the way that they did. And I think somebody asked Sabrina Ionescu in the post-game presser after that game 1 and said, what do you think about the game or something? And she was like, we won. So I'm like, and period, like boop and done. But just the matter of fact attitude that the team and Sandy Brondello took into the playoffs, I think you have to give credit to that. Yep. And, the format where you have to, go on the road, for Chicago to have to go on the road to close it out after dropping that game 1 to New York. I think that was tough, but I think they'll be better for it. They won some close games to get to their title last year, and this is no different, right? I think winning, it begets your confidence. That's the beginning of it. All right.
I agree.
So, I mean, I think it's a good thing for the Sky to have gone through that. You don't want it to be, 30-point blowout, and then get into a buzzsaw game where you haven't been in those situations a lot. So, I think
they have been. To be fair, this Sky team loves to win close games.
They do.
They just absolutely adore doing it. I think they kind of just wait around for it too. They did not do that in game 2. where they just kind of shut it down. I kind of get a little frustrated, honestly, with Chicago. I feel like they could put their foot down on a lot of teams often.
Yeah.
And they don't, and they let them stick around. They're great in the clutch, but as we saw in game 1, crazy stuff happens when you let a team hang around.
Can't do it.
Jessica thinks the champs are going to be in the finals for sure. We'll talk about them really quick. I do want to go back to New York though.
Yeah,
because you talked about all this fight they showed, and they showed this improvement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, remember before the season, Breanna Stewart took a meeting with said New York Liberty.
Oh yeah, she did.
And one of my theories was this year, New York just needs to show that they are competent, that they can get to a place where they could win a title if you add Breanna Stewart to this team.
Interesting.
I don't know if we're quite at the point where I'm like, yeah, this team could win a title just with Breanna Stewart, but really close. Show a lot of grit, show a lot of heart. It'll depend. And the other thing that's going to come into play is if Maureen Johannes can come back. She was a huge part of this team this year.
Amazing.
Huge. So if she can come back, that'd be huge. If she cannot, then that will also be huge in the other direction.
That's true.
I don't entirely know what's going to happen with New York. I do agree with you. They showed a lot of fight and a lot of grit. Do you want to keep moving to your series, the series that you covered in Las Vegas?
Yeah. I mean, that was, you asked me something, I'll tell you. That was out there for a minute.
Well,
like 6 days.
I thought Phoenix acquitted themselves very, very nicely. I think they had a very, very tough year for a lot of the reasons that we've already talked about a million times on this podcast. Obviously our hearts are still with Brittany Griner and Russia. We need a free BG. Hopefully the wheels of justice are moving along towards that. I don't know what's happening, but obviously our thoughts and prayers are also with Skylar Diggins-Smith.
Yeah.
And, we wish we got to see a healthy Diana Taurasi. They've been through a lot. I thought they came out in that game 1 and brought it to Vegas. I thought they played great in the early stretch of the game 1. And then, another player to send our hearts to is Shea Petty. Obviously a player that we love. We got to cover here in DC. Really, really great person. Goes down with torn Achilles after having a great season and really dragging this Phoenix team.
Yeah.
I thought they played great. I thought they acquitted themselves greatly. Game 2 was a blowout, but after everything they went through, I understand why.
Yeah.
So, but was that the sense in your eyes too? Like, just I didn't take much from Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they didn't shoot well in game 1, but then they came around in game 2.
Yeah.
I just think Phoenix just, they tried as best they could.
I mean, I don't know, man. I felt so heavy for them.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to the Shea Petty injury, and then that just broke my spirit. Like I could not believe. And then to be, I was sidelining. So when Shea went down, they had towels all around protecting. And not that I was like chasing after, a dramatic story. I was almost in tears. Like, I was like, how much more could this team take? And to know Shea Petty's journey to the league, much like Rebecca Gardner's, like she waited her turn, man. And in the last 3 years, has really had an opportunity to show herself and to show her true joy of playing. And for her to go down, I think everyone knew automatically what it was. I was on the far end when it happened, so I had to walk, to where their bench was. So I was behind the Aces bench. So I had to go on the other side, to just, I don't know, to capture the emotion of that moment. And it was horrible. Diamond Shields on the bench with a towel over her head, sobbing.
Yeah.
And then went right back into like, these are the things that, you don't understand unless you have played, number one, right? And not only, the fans were like distraught too.
Yeah.
I'm in Vegas, but the Vegas fans were just like, oh my gosh, like.
Well, they knew how much.
Exactly. They had respect for the tragedy of that moment, and just and then when you, like you said, all the things, the timeline, Tina Charles leaving, we didn't even say that. Like,
didn't even include that.
So many things that have happened. The ins and outs. And speaking with Vanessa Nygaard, prior to Shea Petty going out, it's like, this is a resilient team. Like she said, she's running out of synonyms for resilient and gritty and tough. And they've had to be that, right? And when you're given no choice but to be those things, you have to step up in that moment because you're a pro.
Yeah.
You have to step up in that moment because you are a pro. And I think for, when you have Sophie Cunningham just trying to do the best she can, you have Diamond Shields, who I thought really compartmentalized as best she could in those 2 games. And even after Shea Petty's injury, went right back on the floor because they were down to like 7 players. You have to play, right? And she's there for her team. And then shout out to Shea Petty, who unfortunately got injured the way that she did. But Vanessa Nygaard said, you know what? She could have gone home with her family, right? She could have gone back to Phoenix, get checked out by the doctors. And she said, no, I'm staying here with my team. She is beloved. But I just had chills on my arm. Like, she was sitting there with Diana Taurasi on Friday when I went over to the practices. And she's sitting over there. She had the wheelchair, the motorized wheelchair, and I walk in and I'm just like, oh my God. And I just went over to her and I just grabbed her. I said, I don't even have words to say. I just need to hold you for a second. Yeah. And I just grabbed her, and Diana was sitting there, and I'm just like, this is a lot. Like, for me, I'm not even playing. Like, this is a lot for me to process, like, all these things. And when she went down, Vanessa Nygaard said, this is our 4th point guard, that we've lost. And, just to be able to still be in the playoffs, like, to make it there, and not only make it there, but in that first quarter of game 1, like, that was a tie ball game, right? Or was it 2-point game, something after 1? And, they were just like, we're still here together. We're still fighting as a team. And for all of the battles that they have had this year, all the adversity, all of the issues, all of the situations that they've been handed, it's inspirational in a sad, heavy way that they were still able to compete.
It's an uncommon amount of toughness and resilience and grit that you wish they did not have to show.
No.
I think it would have been a lot better. I wish this team just, I don't care about the record, right? Like, I just wish it was easier for them. Yeah. And hopefully it will be next year. We'll see what happens. I have no idea what's going to happen to this team. Obviously, there's Skylar Diggins-Smith rumors. She left team at the end of the season, and we have no idea what happened.
No.
We don't know about Diana's future. I don't imagine Diana Taurasi's retiring. If we probably would have heard about that by now, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next year in Phoenix. Probably going to see a good amount of change, but I do want to commend the players that were there and the players on that team, because they had to show a lot of grit and determination that you really wish they didn't have to show. It wasn't
rough.
Basketball shouldn't be that tough. Basketball shouldn't be that tough.
Not that way. And for Vanessa Nygaard to be a first year there, I mean, wow, like, if you would have told her at the beginning of the year, hey, you're going to go through these 11 things that are not in your favor, do you still want to be? I mean, I don't know how. And for her, she's just kind of like, and we're going to give it our best shot. We're going to fight. We're going to compete. We're going to do it. And, give her credit in that way, because I don't know if all the situations that happen in Phoenix happen on any other team, I don't know, like, what that would look like or feel like, because from the outside looking in, even in person, outside looking in, I mean, the inner workings of that, it just turns my stomach. Turns my stomach to everything that they have had to deal with, starting with BG and, not having her there, and just the fight. I mean, that's their sister, and they were repeatedly asked that. And as hard as that is, to deal with, you're constantly reminded of it on a daily basis by being asked. And as you should, like, we want to know, like, what is it? We want to know your feelings on how this has been for you guys, because it's, like you said, an uncommon set of adverse situations that they've been put in. Yeah. So we're inquisitive about it, because, like, how are you dealing with that? Right. Yeah. It's not like we're going to come in and ask you about pick and roll, because we can ask other teams about pick and roll. We can ask other teams about defensive schemes, but they're not going through what you're going through. So I think it's just, it is
really tough. It is, but it is. I get why we ask those questions, but I do think it's also, like, I understand why you would get mad about it, because I would rather just talk about if I was on that team,
right?
And in my dream world, all we're talking about is basketball. Why this Washington Mystics season, we're going to talk about it, was so fun, because we only really had to talk about basketball. We didn't have to talk about injuries or who's not there or what's shown. Right. And for the circumstances that they went through, I understand why they felt so frustrated in those moments.
Clearly.
So I get it. And I'm glad. Hopefully by the time we see the Phoenix Mercury again, things are better for them. Let's talk about Connecticut though, because we always shortchange Connecticut. We may probably do it again on this podcast. Connecticut, they win game 1 against Dallas handily, lose game 2 handily, win game 3 handily.
Yeah.
What happened?
Alyssa Thomas.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think when you look at all 3 games, they were just so drastically different. And what Connecticut was able to do was respond again on the road in a game 3 closeout situation. And I just, Kurt Miller, he's playing with a heavy heart after losing his mom a couple of weeks ago. So I know how that feels too. And, giving him lots of love in this moment to show that level of strength and commitment to his team to be present in that moment. But I just think that what Connecticut has been able to do well and what they did well in particular in game 3 was to play at the pace that they wanted. I don't think they ever got to the pace of play that they wanted in game 2 whatsoever. And I think you have to credit Dallas. Arike Gumawale, came back in the third quarter of game 3 after missing games 1 and 2. So, I mean, it was so tough for them. And who knows, like with her on the floor for the first 2 games, who knows what that would have looked like for the win.
Yeah, I don't know. So, to your point, Connecticut, 4 fast break points in game 2, 14 in game 3.
Difference. There it is right there.
And I think DeWanna Bonner made a huge, she was awesome. And then it's another player I don't talk enough about. I'm trying to say that we don't talk enough about her because I need to be more specific. I do not talk enough about DeWanna Bonner. I really like her. I think she, it wasn't the most efficient day, but guess what? It's a playoffs. You don't need the most efficient day. You need to win the game. And she made winning plays when it counted. She really opened up the game in that third quarter, end of the first half, third quarter. She was one of the big reasons why they were able to take a big lead. I thought DeWanna played great basketball. Now, Connecticut, I am a little concerned about just because of how reliant they have to be on transition, like we just said, right? That was the difference in the game, and it really felt like that too.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to play against a team in Chicago that can limit your transition. So we'll talk about the preview, but it's just that was a little concerning for me.
Yeah.
Let's just wrap up on the Dallas Wings, though. Weird season.
Yeah.
They found a lot of things that worked, a lot of things that maybe need to change. And with Arike going down before the playoffs, we didn't really get to see her in the playoffs.
Right.
So weird year, but what do you think about Dallas overall this year?
I love them. They have continued to fight. They've continued to elevate. They lost a lot of close games, right? And going back to last year, so many of their games were under 5 points that they lost, especially down the stretch. But I think for them to get into the playoffs this year, I think is encouraging. I think the way Maybury played this year in the absence of Arike and with Arike, they were college roommates at Notre Dame. So they have this chemistry about them when they're on the floor together, of course. But I think Maybury really showed a different level of, fire on the court, and dependability and efficiency on the offensive end. And not that she wasn't capable. I just think sometimes when a player like Arike goes down, not only is that your, court mate, but that's one of your best friends. So you have this extra added emotion of, I got to add on. I've got to, really hunt my shot. And I think that's really what
Marina Maybury rarely needs extra motivation either.
I know, but the fact that she has that, it just made her, to me, stand out, a little bit more in that way. And she's always had fight. You're right. I mean, she's always, the messy bun. She had the brunch bun going. She's like, listen, we're out here. And she's a leader in that way of good energy and the level of efficiency she was able to play with offensively, I thought was a huge difference maker for them all season long, but especially in the playoffs where she just really took it upon herself in the absence of Arike to go ahead and do that thing. And I really give her credit for that and respect her energy that she was giving to the team.
No, really, really impressive stuff from Mabry, from
Yeah.
Alicia Gray, from Izzy Harrison, who I hope she's okay. She went down with the ankle injury, but we haven't heard anything, so not hearing anything seems good in this circumstance. Ty Harris, I thought was really impressive this year. Tiara McCowan, really impressive this year. All that being said, gonna be an interesting offseason.
Yeah.
Marina Mabry, restricted free agent. Tiara McCowan, restricted free agent. Isabel Harrison, unrestricted free agent. Wow. We got Alicia Gray, who reportedly is unhappy there and wants out. She has one more year on her contract.
Oh, I didn't hear about the unhappiness there.
That was reported somewhere on Twitter. And then all of South Carolina people are continually saying that she wants to leave. So I will believe them. Okay. But I also agree with Tiger, Veronica Burton. Awesome.
I loved her game this year.
She was really there's going to be a really interesting future in Dallas. We've been talking about future in Dallas for a while. We'll have to get back to it in the offseason, but really I thought they acquitted themselves nicely as well. So good for Dallas. All right, let's get into it. Seattle.
Here we go.
Sweeps Washington.
Yeah.
Game 1, classic down to the wire. Game 2, just Seattle knew they had to close out, and they did.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I was waiting for the question because I'm like, yeah. Let's go with game 1. I mean, game 1, I thought Washington played really well. Mm-hmm. On the road in Seattle, tough place to play and win. Mm-hmm. But I just thought that they took their hard hats into that arena, especially Elena Delle Donne. I think I am not alone in this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but to see Elena Delle Donne play like that, with defenses coming at her ability, they're taking away her left, but she's going to spin right and knock in the turnaround jumper. I mean, she had counters to the counters in that game for her 26 points, but I just thought that, her aggression really made a difference for the team and defensively as well. But I just think when you see a fired up Elena Delle Donne, man, everybody else gets fired up because she'll give a fist pump or like a let's go and one or here and there. But boy, it was like that, like all game long, and it was tough to stop her, obviously. But I just think when she sent that video, Kareem Copeland had that in his. It was a tweet or an article. I think it was a tweet, but said that she had sent out a clip from Kobe Bryant, the late iconic Kobe, to the whole team. I just think the leadership from her was a big difference maker. And she just, like you said, who was that just said that she went off? Is that
Josh the King? He's been hanging out with us. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We're going to talk for a long, we have like 30 more minutes. I'm going to, we may get lunch delivered here. We'll just be hanging out on the podcast.
In the Grubhub, give me some Uber Eats.
No, but yeah, Delle Donne, man, what an amazing game 1. It's just,
she was incredible.
At 26 points on 11-17, she was the best player on the court.
Yeah.
And that was amazing to see for Washington because we've been waiting to see this since that 2019 finals where again, she was the best player on the court. And then Ariel Atkins had a nice game. You had Natasha Cloud having a nice game. You had Shakira Austin having a nice game. That just all comes down to a couple bounces of the ball, right? Ball goes one way, there's a miscommunication between Natasha Cloud and Ariel Atkins at the end of the game. How many? We haven't seen that often this year. We haven't seen that, and it just happens right at the worst moment. I felt really bad for Natasha because she played a great game. You look at the other side though, that team was awesome. Like Seattle just played well, and it came down to those little tiny margins that we talked about in our preview of this game. It just came down to little margins, little play here, play there, an offensive rebound here, an offensive rebound there. The ball goes this way here. You get a turnover here. You come out on the wrong person. You close out two people close out to the wrong player, right? Yeah. And it's like those are the things that kill you.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it. Yeah. I just think there was one too many mistakes in game 1. And you got a lot of things that you need to get in order to win. And then they couldn't capitalize. And then game two was just really, really impressive from Seattle. I thought, it was no shade to the Mystics. I thought they played well for large portions of that game. Yeah. And then just couldn't keep up at the end.
Yeah, I think, in game one, it's, we're talking about all the little micro situations that happen throughout the game. And then at the end, it turned out to be, it adds up to a macro situation. And, missing a couple of, that turnover and then that rebound. Those are the things that stand out to me, or the missed rebound. And then Jewel Lloyd hits that shot. I was like, you got to have that rebound. And you got to have that possession. And now, you just won't ever know, right? Because those two things didn't go your way. So frustrating. I get it. But if they were going to get one, it was going to be game one. Because in game two, for the Mystics to average 80 points coming into that game, or just about 80 points, they put up 84. And for them to be the best defensive team, I mean, it wasn't that they had defensive miscues per se in game two. They had stick arm in their faces.
Yeah.
They were making tough shots and put up 97 points. So when you have a team that has all 5 players in double figures, that's what you want for Washington, right? But so did Seattle. And it was the tough shots that they were making that really cost them. And what else can you do? I mean, it's not like you're giving up wide open looks. I mean, you were right there. Like, know their schemes. You've played them, even though Seattle won 2-1 in the regular season. But those were playoff field games. Yeah. I don't care if they happen in June or August or whatever. Those were playoff field games because they're very similar. And we said that going into the playoffs. But I think Washington was right there. It wasn't that they broke down defensively or that they had an issue defensively. It was Seattle hit some majorly tough shots. They hit some tough contested shots in traffic. And you shake their hand after that, even though you don't want to. But if you do your best, we're not giving you anything. Yeah. The shot Washington didn't give Seattle anything.
I think it ended up that they had to because of that tough shot making. The whole defense had to morph to Brianna Stewart, and it's we have to do it. We have no choice because if not, she's just going to hit the shot. So if we help and we have to help offer, and then that's what busts the pipes towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
Kudos to Seattle. We'll talk about them in a sec. We talked about Shakira Austin, who I think is going to be generational talent. So that was a big plus this season.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Elena Deladon, getting back your already generational talent this year was a great sign. I thought Natasha Cloud had an amazing year. Ariel Atkins had another good year.
Yeah.
I think there's some question marks around what they're going to do in the future, with Alicia Clark, with Maisha Hines-Allen. I think they're both under contract. I think let me see. I'm gonna double check before I say anything on those two. I thought Elizabeth Williams played pretty well. She may, I don't know where she's gonna end up because I know she's a free agent, but I thought she had some good moments for them. Let's see. Alicia Clark is an unrestricted free agent.
Yep.
And Maisha Hines-Allen on the contract for the next 2 seasons. And we're just have to see how that all develops. Because they have a lot invested in this core, and I think there's a couple more years here.
Yeah,
I did want to ask you though, because my read on this for this Mystic season was just okay. It didn't go the way we wanted it to go.
Right.
If you're the Mystics, didn't go the way we wanted to go.
No.
But it felt like they got back on track towards the championship. This is the year that starts the chain where they get back to the championship, assuming health.
Yeah, and I think after game 2. Obviously, emotions riding high. You're speaking 10 minutes after the buzzer goes off, right? But it was Elena Deladon, Natasha Cloud, and Ariel Atkins in the post-game presser. And, I think what they were saying was that, we have to be better. They took, the onus of that moment. We had to, obviously gave credit to Seattle for knocking in some tough shots and for making things tougher for them in game 2 than they had in game 1. But I think, all of them were kind of on the same page in their exit interviews that they had the other day, a couple hours. We were on Zoom with basically every single player. And I thought that what Natasha Cloud said was very profound. She said, we got our culture back. We got our family back. And when you have that, that's the starting point, like you were saying. I mean, statistically, we're not even talking about that. We're talking about being able to come in to practice every day and have a joy about the environment and want to be around each other. And I don't think it was like that last year. And a lot of them said that for whatever reason. Who knows what it was? But they all knew that it was different this year, and it needed to be different. Elena Delle Donne even said it. Ariel Atkins said it. Like, Alicia Clark said it. But I just think that when you have the family culture back, and you have each other's back, so you have the trust of one another, that they're all giving the same level of energy and effort and focus, that you're invested in that way with the integrity of that trust. There's not a lot you can do wrong. And will you win every game? No, but at least everybody's heart is in the right place. Everybody's heart is in a selfless mode. And I think that's what they got back to. And going with Ariel Atkins, I mean, she just said, I needed to be more aggressive this year. I needed to attack. And she did that well. She wanted to even do more than that. But I just thought her 3-level scoring ability was very impressive this year. And again, a super young player. He's 5 years. It's going to keep getting better for her. Maisha Hines-Allen said, I have to work on my consistency. And I was like, yeah, I could see that. Like there would be some games where she would be on fire. I'm like, okay, Mai. Like, she had 20 points here and there, and then she'll have 4 points. So it's like that same mindset needs to be there. And she said it. It's not me saying this about her. She said that. And for Mike Thibault, he's going to have an end of year at a later date. He wasn't on the call this week, but he did say that he's going to talk about things, but the free agency and what they need. But he needs another scorer. And he basically said, we need to have someone else who can score for us. We don't want to have a liability on the offensive end and have people hang off, right? Or clog up other areas like on Elena Delle Donne, or maybe next year on Shakira Austin down inside. We have to have everybody be a threat. And I think when you look back to their 2019 championship season, they had threats across the board. Yeah. You can't cheat off. You can't sag down. You can't pinch off anybody, right? Or they're going to make you pay. So I think this year they couldn't really say that in maybe 2 or 3 different situations where they had, rotational pieces in, and you can kind of not give as much defensive attention to some people.
I think they have a lottery pick, in fact, to
they do
plug up some of these holes. We'll get into all of these teams, but I thought the first round was amazing. Clearly, so did y'all. It's a 50% increase in playoff viewership over the 2021 first and second rounds. Most viewed WNBA opening playoffs in 15 years. Of course, some of that is due to one of the games being on ABC and most of the games being on ESPN. But that's fine. That's like a points per game versus points per 100 possession sort of thing. It's fine. We'll take it.
It's good.
All right. Speaking of what's going to be the most viewed WNBA semifinal ever, I'll say it here. Write it down, ESPN. I don't know, actually. I don't know how the metrics are. Right. Which one do you want to preview first? Seattle, Las Vegas, or Chicago, Connecticut?
Oh, my gosh. Let's go Chicago, Connecticut.
Chicago, Connecticut. Very interesting. All right. So where do you want to start here?
I want to start.
I got a legal pad.
Oh, today. You do? Oh, snap. We don't have any Post-its, though.
I have our Post-its that we both lost. Okay. We were both wrong on both of our Post-its.
Didn't do well with that.
We got to do more of that during the college season.
I know. Yeah. Right. At least my Indiana 6-win thing from the first half of the season isn't on the wall anymore. So that's good. Fine. I am thinking, let's go with how Chicago has had their way with Connecticut this season.
Indeed, they have.
And I think, obviously everyone's like, okay, playoffs is a brand new season and everything like that. But mentally, that sits in your head. Now, it could work for you. If you're Chicago, we've done it before, we'll do it again and keep that foot on the pedal. But like you said, there's been some inconsistency with how hard that foot's been on the pedal for Chicago this season. But then if you're Connecticut, man, they have something to prove. No Jasmine Thomas, this season. Last year, they didn't have Alyssa Thomas going at the end of the regular season. She came in for the playoffs at the end. So they've had some disjointed pieces, even though they have come together this year to make it to the semis. I just think that Connecticut may eke out a couple wins, just because of that level of competitiveness that they're going to bring to the table. JJ, Jonquel Jones is going to bring it. I mean, she was MVP last year. I mean, there are players that they have. And Brianna Jones coming off the bench, 6th player of the year at AP. I think they just have the pieces that they need right now. And Heidemann has been shooting the ball very well. So I'm like, they're going to need that, obviously, against a team like Chicago. But I think they're hungry to advance.
Yeah. No, I agree. And look, we made fun of this, but Chicago won the 4 games in the regular season. But the total margin over those 4 games was 18 points. Every game was decided by 8 points or less. 2 of them were decided by 3 points. Very close. These 2 teams are very good. Both these teams are very, very good.
Yeah.
But I think what happened in those games is Chicago just came out firing. I mean, they shot their effective field goal percentage against Connecticut this year was 61.7%. It's just crazy. It's a big number. They dominated in the 4 factors. Just a really quick look at what happened in those games. Like they dominated the field goal category and they dominated the free throw rate category. Okay. But Connecticut is what they do is they dominate the offensive glass and the turnover margin. So I think it's just going to come down to how many turnovers can Connecticut produce, how many offensive rebounds can they produce. They're going to need extra possessions, and then they're going to need to capitalize on those extra possessions. Against Dallas, at some point in that game, they had 21 more field goal attempts in that game 3 against Dallas than Dallas did, but they were only up by like 13 points.
Right.
So it's like they need to be more efficient on those opportunities. And I think Chicago's D can hold them in. But I am totally with you. I think this series is not going to be a sweep. Certainly not. I don't think so. I think Connecticut will get at least 1 game. I'm really excited. Actually, tell me which matchup you're really excited about. Cause I got a lot here, like Dewana versus Leah Copper. You got Emma. Well, whoever's at that 4 position against Alyssa Thomas, or they're going to put Candace Parker on Alyssa Thomas. How do they match up in that front court? I think those are going to be really, really interesting matchups.
Yeah.
And I also think there's like weird lineup opportunities. So just like what matchup are you looking for? Could be unit to unit, coach to coach, player to player. Like what's one of those things you want to see?
I think that matchup with Emma Miesemann, who I think would be the match for Alyssa Thomas. I'm circling that. And maybe Candace Parker. I mean, she's stepped up and taken a lot of pride in her defense in the last couple of seasons anyway, but I think she's always been a fantastic defender. But I think for me, if I'm James Wade, I am going to go ahead and put Emma Miesemann on her. Emma has great footwork in there. I think she understands Alyssa Thomas's move. She knows what she's going to do. She can be shifty, and strong. But I think Miesemann can kind of stay in front of her a little bit better. And not that Candace can't, but I think also you don't want to put Candace in that situation where she could get in foul trouble. Yeah. Because Alyssa Thomas does take a high volume number of shots. So you're also thinking of that as well. Not necessarily that Candace can't do it. No, it's like, Candace can do it, but do we want her doing it every time down defensively because the ball is going through Alyssa Thomas? So I think in that regard, I'm gonna put Emma on her, and I think that's gonna be the matchup. But I also like what you said about Bonner and Copper.
Well, so I was just thinking about why I'm so excited.
Is that gonna be the match? Do you think?
I can't. I just go and see who the other team is gonna put on one of them, right? Because you have Vandersloot and Quigley against Heidemann and Courtney Williams in the front court. I think that matchup is very clearly go towards Chicago.
Very good.
And I think those 2 guards are going to have to be on their best defensive activity. And I think Heidemann has been there. Courtney has been in and out, and it depends. Like she's not going to be able to take. I think she has a slight mismatch on the offensive end against Quigley. But I don't think she's really going to be able to take advantage of that because the way Courtney Williams takes advantage of it is by those long twos. And it's like Chicago will take that. Chicago will let you shoot that. So I think where my point here is I think the one-on-one matchup is going to be between Copper and DeWanna Bonner.
Okay.
Because those are the only two that, I think either team's going to be okay with the other one going up against one-on-one. I think DeWanna has a size and length advantage. And I think Copper has a speed and strength advantage. And we're just going to be seeing those two going back and forth. I think it's going to be 5-on-5 basketball, which I know sounds stupid, but
no, it doesn't.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's 5-on-5 basketball. This is going to be a lot of movement, a lot of switching, a lot of communication. Chicago has done an amazing job of being able to switch and scram and do point switching, and then having Candace Parker stay near the rim, which is always their goal. We'll see how she can do that against Jonquel Jones. So I think it's going to be 5-on-5. But where the one-on-one matchup is going to be is between Copper and Bonner.
I like it.
And it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for it.
I like it. And I also think, you got to flip it over too and say, who's going to check Candace, right? Who's going to check?
Well, Jonquel.
Right. But she can take her outside a little bit, right? She can stretch her a little bit, get her in some pick and roll.
Well, ideally, no. I mean, it depends on who. Jonquel has not been playing that well, so I don't know. Maybe she can, but when Jonquel's 2019 finals, Jonquel, no, she cannot, right?
Yeah. But I think Chicago's also, thinking, well, they got to check us too, right? And the matchups aren't just like who's going to check these people from Connecticut, but who's going to check us? Okay, who's going to check Quigley? Who's going to check Sloot? I think you have to flip the switch a little bit and say, like, let's look at it on the other side and see what kind of matchups can be exploited with how Chicago plays in the court. And when Courtney Vandersloot gets 10 toes in the paint, that's trouble. So you really have to put, an onus on keeping her out of the lane, not letting her get downhill and transition. But she just finds a way, right? She'll snake in and out and for a reason, right? She's not just doing it because it looks cute. She's doing it to commit you to the ball. And then she's going to find somebody wide open out there who could be Candace Parker, who I think in this matchup against Connecticut is going to stretch that floor out. And that may be the difference maker for Chicago, her ability to knock in shots from the outside.
Yeah, but teams have been giving that to her. And it's been kind of working because she doesn't want Candace. She plays basketball the right way, right? So it's like, yeah, she'll take the open shot, but it's not necessarily the thing she wants to do. And I think getting her out of the thing she wants to do, and then Chicago countering to get her into the thing she wants to do. As Anila says in her comment, like, who's going to be the better coach in the series is pretty much going to decide. And I totally agree with that. James Wade versus Kurt Miller, these two coaches have been great for years. And I think they've gotten their teams to this point where it is kind of down to their decisions. So we'll see. I mean, and then there's the other possibility that I was thinking about. Let me know what you think about this. Okay. If these teams go big, not that they necessarily will. Okay. I didn't look up the lineup data before this, and I'm sorry about that. If someone wants to hit me up with it. Could a big lineup favor Connecticut? Let's say they move DeWanna up to the 2 and bring in Bree Jones. Okay. Which should maybe, possibly, I don't know, for Chicago to then bring in Azrae Stevens and play her with Emma and Candace. Ooh. They do not like to do that, but they could play big lineup versus big lineup. And I think Connecticut may be able to force the issue that way and do the things that they're best at. I don't think Alyssa Thomas at the 3 is fine. Like she's not a big that's going to scare you switching. So I was just thinking about that as a potential counter for Connecticut if they have to slow down Chicago. Yeah, I think, like you just said, Anelia said, right? It's going to be a chess match with the coaches and what kinds of combinations you want to switch and change to. But honestly, at this juncture in the playoffs, you don't want to be mixing up too much stuff, right? You want to do with what got you here. You want to be your authentic selves as a team. But can you do that 1 or 2 possessions just to show it, see what it looks like, see what it feels like? Perhaps. But it all depends on what the score is. I'm not doing that in a 1 possession back and forth game. Bump that. Nope. We're staying with what we're doing. And I'm not trying something new like that. But if we have, 5+ possession lead,
maybe try something like that. But, you got to stick with your, your innate decision making that you've relied upon coming into the playoffs. And I just think for James Wade, I just think that he has Courtney Vandersloot on the floor. She's going to make the proper decisions for you. And I think when you're looking at a team like Connecticut, without the services of Jasmine Thomas, I don't know if that's going to come into play as being something that they need more of, right?
Oh, yeah.
Courtney Williams, I'm not, and this is, when I say that, I'm not saying that other players aren't capable of making strong contributions in that role. They have to, okay? What I'm saying is a player with the seasoned experience that Jasmine Thomas had for Connecticut, is that going to be something that hurts them in this series, not having that experience at that position?
Yeah, I think it will hurt them. No, 100% is going to hurt them.
Yeah.
It's just like they got to deal with what they got. And that's why I say you got to get. I think Connecticut to me is a big underdog here. And I'm going to tell you guys straight up, I'm picking Chicago. I'm going to make Christy pick. Don't worry.
Great.
I'm picking Chicago, and I think it's just because there's more areas to exploit against Connecticut than there are against Chicago. And
Yes.
Chicago is very, very good at exploiting your one weakness, right?
Yeah.
So in that game 3 against New York, there's opportunities that the rim was wide open because of the spacing Chicago had, and they attacked the rim, then they attacked the rim. Things changed. They started taking more threes. They adjusted so well throughout that game. And I think Chicago is definitely not scared to change things up. Like, they were pressing against New York. And that's not something you see from a 1 seed or the 2 seed against a 7 seed. Typically, you don't see the 2 seed pressing, right? Because that's a strategy typically used by the underdog. So I don't think it's going to be something that the status quo is going to work out. I think Connecticut's going to have to adapt and try different things. That's why I bring up the big lineup, because I also kind of want to see it.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it. I mean, as a former post, I'd love to see it. Hey, put them all out there. But, I still think, you don't want to be tinkering with things that throw your chemistry off or create a big run for your opponents, right? And sometimes when you see another team put a big lineup out there, you may be forced to say, oh, we got to match that with size. But sometimes you don't. Like what I was saying before, they still have to check us too. Yeah. So do we have an advantage now if we stay small, right? They went big, good for them. Let's exploit that. How can we get them in pick and rolls? How can we spread them out and get by them? Like, I think it's all, again, goes back to the coaching and what happens. So you can't be enticed by what the other team is doing. It's almost like, what was that meme where in the Olympics, the swimming thing, and he's looking to see what somebody else is doing? Or was it the race? It was the race. It was both. It was like, I know
what you're saying.
And, you can't be focused on the other people. You better just go ahead and stay straight ahead, whether you're swimming, racing, or hooping. Like, you got to just stay the course and do what got you there. And if there are changes on the other side, don't let that force you to make a change, right? Just see what advantages that presents for you, because now they're gambling. So let's make them pay for that. So
so maybe Chicago, and Chicago again, very well equipped to do against anything. And that's why I think they're going to win the series. Who do you think is going to win the series? I'll make my prediction a little bit more specific. Okay. I will say that Chicago is going to win this series in 4 games, and they are going to lose game 3.
Wow.
Very specific.
That's very specific, but are you asking that of me too?
No, you can just say whatever you want. You're the Hall of Famer.
Okay, good. I get a pass. Yay. I didn't know I could use that. Okay. Let's go. I'm going Chicago in 5.
Chicago in 5. Okay.
And I want that game 5 to be a buzzer beater game. Like, I want it to be dramatic. I want it to be hard fought. I want it to be dig down. I want to see if Chicago can say, hey, we won it last year. We did it with this kind of fight, and do it again. So I'm calling Chicago in 5, but I think Connecticut's going to give them all they got. And they're ready to compete. And I want to see it be like a free throw with no time on the clock in game 5. If we're like Quigley or somebody be on the line, you're supposed to make it. You're a shooter, shoot. Let's see you make this shot. And then let it be a 1-point win.
I think Chicago is going to win by 20 in Game 4. That's my. That's
20. Wow, you just shaved it all the way. Okay.
Game 4, 20-point win. Let's talk about what I think is actually the better series: Las Vegas against Seattle.
Yeah.
This is going to be an awesome series. I listed out like the matchups here. Obviously, there's 4 number 1 pick. There's 7 number 1 picks in this series.
Come on.
The talent here is incredible. You look at the matchups and it's like, you got MVP candidates all over the place. You got players who have done so much in this league already. I think Seattle's probably playing the best basketball in the league right now.
They are.
I think Las Vegas is not that far behind them, right? So it's like,
right.
I don't quite know where the series is gonna go. The in-season matchup, what was it? It was 3-1 for Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So that would suggest that Las Vegas is going to win. I just don't think that's as easy as it's going to be. So what are you looking out for in this series?
Is this the end of the road for Sue Bird, number 1? That to me, man, listen, if I'm playing with Sue Bird and I know that she, has announced her retirement and everything like that, and not that I wouldn't be already driven. I would be driven. Okay. But the fact that the person to the right of me is Sue Bird in the locker room. I'm sitting there looking at her put on her shoes. Is this the last time? Not if I have anything to say about it, right? But hey, I'm going out here and I'm already fired up. So I'm going to be at a different level because I have that extra incentive, and not that you need it, but you have it. Okay. Right. And I mean, you won't play your butt off for Sue, man. If I'm her teammate, man, listen, I'm gonna box out a little longer. I'm gonna set my screen a little more solid, like all the little micro things we were talking about. Make my pass a little more crisp. Like every little thing, I'm gonna go harder for her, just because she's sitting right there. I mean, that's period, point blank. So number 1, I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that level of energy from Seattle, but also I'm looking for Vegas, right? To be able to do what they've done against Seattle all year. I mean, this is a team who got the number 1 overall seed, right? Because they beat Seattle in the last game. So this is the team who can rise to the occasion in situations like that when they have the opportunity to close that door. They did it at the end of the regular season. Can they do it again in the postseason? And seeing them up close and personal, they are really a tough group to stop. Like, they're a tough group to contain. And if you contain one piece of what they're doing, they're going to come with 4 more. I mean, they just have a tremendous amount of balance on both sides. And I think, they have to play smart. They have to stay out of foul trouble. Wilson has to stay on the floor. But I think it's going to be, that's another knockdown, drag out series with a lot of different stories behind it. I mean, Becky Hammond, wouldn't that be something, to advance to the finals as the first year head coach in the WNBA?
It's going to be amazing. I think the narratives are there. It's going to be, from that perspective, it's going to be amazing. I think the on-court play is going to be incredible. I think what we're going to see on the court is going to be the best basketball this season. I think I said that in the last series too with Washington, and it was not. It was not. The Vegas
game one
was really good, but game 2, I'm talking about, it has to be consistent. Okay, although I could see this being a weird series where each team gets a blowout because of how the coaches are adjusting and changing things over games, right? I think Seattle does that really well, and they do also change in game very well too. But I can see this being a series where it's like, okay, Vegas won game 1 by 15. Okay, it's Seattle won game 2 by 15. Game 3, there's been series like that. I remember the Miami Heat, San Antonio Spurs series, and I always get the year wrong. I think it's 2014. That was like that, where the Ray Allen shot one. It was like game 6 was a classic, but the games before that were all blowouts. I think this could be the same thing, just because the teams are so good. That's going to take just a little change here, a little change there. Who's playing well here? Who's playing well there? Right now, for example, Seattle has Gabby Williams playing some of the best basketball of her career. She's been unbelievable. Can she outplay Jackie Young, who was playing unbelievable basketball season? Right? Like, And the matchups here are really interesting too, because I think in that last game against between these teams, Sue Bird actually matched up with Chelsea Gray. And I thought that was, I picked up my ears, and so did Vegas, because they started attacking that. And then they started attacking Tina Charles as the tagger in the pick and roll, right?
They did.
And then you go on the other side, and Seattle just had Brianna Stewart do Brianna Stewart things. And then there was a time where it was just Brianna Stewart versus Asia Wilson. I'm looking very much forward to those times in this series. So
yeah,
the X's and O's are going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
Do you see any team having a single advantage on the floor?
Asia Wilson to me is an advantage. I mean,
she's going up against Brianna Stewart though.
I know, but Asia Wilson to me is an advantage. I have to stick with that. I mean, she's just put in so much work, man, and the extension of her game, I think, has really been something to see. But her defense, like, she's been right there, and I think that's been a big reason why they have that series advantage over Seattle, is because of the way she's been able to protect the rim. Now, with that being said, I think Becky Hammond has been a maestro with what she's been able to do defensively with her team. And when I say that, she'll throw a triangle and 2 at you, a diamond and 1, box and 1. Like, she'll zone it, she'll mix up some things on you defensively. And yes, Sue Bird is the
Can I remind you of something just very quickly? Brianna? You have said on this podcast before that when you're throwing out those defenses, you may need to.
Yeah.
It's not because you want to.
Right.
Because you may need to. It's just that's a little concerning.
Absolutely. But at the same time, is what you've been doing. That's not reinvention of the wheel for this Vegas Aces team. They've always thrown a variety of things at you offensively too. Like, they're going to throw a lot of different reads at you. They're going to throw a lot of different looks. They love that stagger on the weak side, curl and plumb up. Like, listen, man, they're going to throw some things at you. They're not going to come down doing the same thing every time. Like, defensively, you have to be on your toes against a team that Becky Hammond is coaching. She's going to throw several different things. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, if I'm coaching against that, I'm trying to recognize by half court, like, what are they doing? What are they doing? Like, who's doing this? Like, you have to stay ready to make in-game adjustments against this team. And I think what Washington was able to do well during the regular season in their 3 wins against Vegas was make those adjustments to what they saw defensively against the Aces. So now Seattle is going to have to do the same thing. And with a player like Sue Bird, yes, she's going to be able to recognize what's going on, right? She just knows. Like, she's magical in that way. I get it. But at the same time, everybody else has to be on that same page. You have to be able to make quick adjustments within, time on the shot clock. You don't want to have late in the shot clock decisions to be made by the team. But I think with a variety of defenses that Las Vegas is going to be able to throw at you, because they've done it all season, that's going to be really interesting to see. And that's something for fans to watch for too. Like, what are they running? Right.
Yep.
And I think, I think Asia Wilson's the MVP.
That's what Chiquita said. Chiquita said MVP.
Oh, hey, Chiquita. Hey, girl.
Yeah, I think it is her MVP year. I think Brianna Stewart's really, really good.
She's not bad.
She's not a bad basketball player, I'd say. I think she's gonna be a great matchup. And I think there's a lot of people, that Seattle has more people to throw at Wilson than Vegas has to throw at Stewart.
That's true.
There's just going to be, I think it is going to be, again, 5-on-5 basketball, right? Where there's going to be a lot more movement off the ball. I think, you do have 2 players who are among the best in the league between Jewel Lloyd and Chelsea Gray.
Oh, man.
I may be matching them up if I'm on either side of that. Actually, I'd probably I try to put Jackie Young on Jewel Lloyd, but the matchups are so weird. It's just going to be like, because I think on Vegas would want Plum on Bird. But I don't think Seattle will want Bird on Plum. So then it's like, well, where do you put Sue Bird? Where do you, like, how do you, I don't know. Right. It's going to be really fast and a little chess match. Also, a couple of our commenters have mentioned whether Derek Hamby is going to be back. We don't know. I haven't seen anything.
Oh, go ahead, honey. I'm sorry.
No. Do you know?
No, she in Vegas last week, we got some updates with her, but obviously they did what they did against Phoenix without her on the court. And it's a bone bruise, but I think that's gotten better. So I think having this week in between, if she's not playing in game 1 or 2, maybe before the series is over, she may see time on the floor. And that's not an official word. That's just, things that I saw there. And, no official word on that, but I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility because they've had this gap in days, right? Yeah. Full 7 days in between. So obviously that helps fuel her to get back and be ready to go. But yeah, I mean, going back to A'ja Wilson MVP, I mean, it's best player, best team. That's always what I thought. So
I think
best record. Well,
it's not technically. It is not technically the award for the best player on the best team.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It could be for the most valuable, who brought the most value to their team. I'm just saying, if you want to go a different direction, you're okay.
No, dude. Hey, no. Look, if you're the best player on the best team, their value is already written in stone.
No, because there could be more people. Let's say a team
on a bad team, like you're like
no. But let's play it out. Let's play it out. So if a
team and you're the MVP,
if the team in first place has 3 MVP candidates, like this Vegas team particularly had at some point in the season, right? 3 players who may be the best player on the best team.
Right.
Obviously, it ended up being A'ja Wilson, like we all thought it was going to be. But there's maybe a team that finished maybe like 4th in the standings who had a player who contributed even more because they had to do more.
Buddy.
It's only 2-game difference. It's not like the first place team was that much better than everyone else. It was like a 2-game difference.
Gabe, you know what? I love you like a play cousin and all that. Like me and you, I'm disagreeing fully. I'm going best player, best team.
I'm just saying you cannot go like you can go different.
Can't? Why? Why would you do that?
Because that's not the award. But the award's not for the best player on the best team. That's just not the award. The award is not for the best player on the best team.
Who is it for then? Who scores the most on a bad team?
It's for who is the most valuable player to their team. So if one player drags a team to a second place finish, it shouldn't be the first player on the team that's full of all-stars.
No.
But it's just not for best player on the best team is not the only way to look at that award. You can look at it like be. Well, then we should call it the best player on the best team award. Then there's no voting. We don't have to vote for it.
Wilson. But then it makes it easy. Like all these other
but it's not supposed to be easy.
No, these other variables, man. Like, bump that. If you're scoring 30 on the 8th place team, no, man.
I'm not talking about the 8th place. I'm not talking about the 8th place team. I'm talking about a team that was 4th place, 2 games behind the team that won, that got in first place, and who may beat them in the playoffs, which is my prediction, and what I'm going to say. Seattle's going to beat Vegas in the playoffs, and I think it's going 5 games. I think it's going to, and I think there's an argument that Brianna Stewart should win the MVP. I personally would vote A'ja Wilson because I think she has been the most valuable player to a very, very good team. But it's not just because she is the best player on the best team. I think that's a bit reductive for what the award's supposed to be.
Get your reductive pen out and put it on some reductive paper and write down what you just said about A'ja Wilson being the most valuable player.
She's the most valuable player this year, but it's not because but it's not just because she's the best player on the best team. It's because she's added the most valuable to it. She has added the most value to a team that is very good.
You're saying the same thing.
I'm not. I'm saying you can vote for Brianna Stewart, just not because she finished 4th in the standings.
I love her. But
that doesn't take her off the ballot if she just finished 4th.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but I don't agree. I don't know. I guess I'm old school with that. If you're the best player on the best team, that's you. Like you earned that. You got your team there. Without you, they don't get there. You're valuable and invaluable at the same time. And guess what? That's who I'm going with. And that's just me. And I think, what I'm saying, if that fuels Brianna Stewart to average 40 in this series, I'm sorry, Las Vegas, but
you gotta hope if you're Las Vegas that this award is not coming out in this round. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm not mad at Brianna Stewart, and I love her game, and I love all the accomplishments and gold medals and championships that she's been able to win at a young age. I mean, she's accomplished more than anyone at her age. Okay, trust and believe. But this year it's A'ja Wilson.
I look, I'm voting for A'ja Wilson. I'm just saying that the assertion that it has to be the best player on the best team is wrong. I do not think that is the award.
Do you use Waze when you drive around?
Huh? No, I don't. I use Google Maps.
Okay, Google Maps. Okay, say we're using Google Maps and we're meeting up at a restaurant and you take one way to get there, but you're there, right? And I take another way and I get there, I meet you there. I'm like, oh, hey, Gabe, how y'all doing? We're both at the same spot. So you just
but it matters.
But it doesn't matter how you get there. You got there. Boom.
This year, certainly it does not matter because we both voted for Asia Wilson. There will come a year where we disagree on this, much like we disagreed on the Rookie of the Year. Also, by the way,
we did disagree.
The rookie, we disagreed there. We just don't disagree here. Yeah. But I think in the future, I do not think it is the best player on the best team. I do not think that has to be the award because I think there's some times where the most valuable player in this league is not on the best team.
The same thing, man. You're saying the same thing.
Huh?
Most valuable and best are the same.
No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not. They're not. It's not the best player award.
It's the best player.
No, but it's not the best player award. We have a best player award in college, correct? We have a best player in college.
Yes.
The Naismith, which again is going to go to Aaliyah Boston because she's the best player of the country. I don't care I don't care what happens if South Carolina finishes second in the SEC, like they did last year. But
they won it all, though. Hey, Dawn.
Aaliyah Boston's the best player in the country. However, that's for best player. This is not a best player award. This is most valuable. The words have to mean something. I'm a lawyer.
To mean something, and I don't get it.
You're
a lawyer, and I'm not. And
the words have to mean something. All right, Christy, we gotta go. Make your pick. Make your pick. You almost got out of this without making your pick.
I'm going with the Las Vegas Aces in that series, and I'm going to take them in 5. And I'm going to take it a 10-point win in Game 5 for the Las Vegas Aces.
10 points. I think I pushed Christy into
made me angry. I was going to say 5, but I added 5 more because you had me mad.
Also, I just want to say, according to my logic, Jess, no, LeBron the whole point would be that LeBron would not win the award every single year. That's the whole point of the most valuable player award is that the best player doesn't always win it. That's the whole point.
Oh my God.
Christy, get us out of here.
Best player, best team. Y'all shout us out in the comments because we're not done with this because I got a time.
We're coming back. We're coming back when the MVP award actually gets announced.
We'll have that next time. But we don't have to go home. We got to get on out of here. That's it for today's discussion. Now I have to go woosah somewhere and do some yoga because of Gabe. Anyway, we'll check y'all out next time. More WNBA playoffs ahead. For Gabe Ibrahim, I'm Christy Winters-Scott. We'll see you next time.